Hello, hello, hello. You are live with Dave Jose. It is 6:42 on Friday, December the 13th. I wanted to come and speak with you guys and bring you a damning bombshell special report like no other, guys. It is amazing. First of all, let me pray real quick before we get started, as I normally do. And I'm going to hit you guys with some fire like you've never freaking seen before. Now, I told you guys that we are winning. I told you guys that there are some things that are going down behind closed doors that we can't always see. And we've seen certain people in the movement sharing some information that couldn't really be verified because it's happening behind closed doors. Now, what we're dealing with is high-level trafficking. So we had a whole bunch of news come in the last week. I want you guys to pay very close attention to what we've been told, because some things are happening that I don't know if all you guys caught, but oh my gosh, it is freaking huge. Okay, so number one, I want you guys to remember, and I got to give you some preface work so you guys don't get mixed up or get lost with some of the things that are happening. But remember that y'all need to share this with every freaking body, because people are about to get their kids back across the nation. And we need to communicate to let this be known, because stuff is happening to show us that what we're doing is working. And Satan has been winning for a long time because they've been able to hide what they were doing with the trafficking of the children and all that. But now the doors are blown open and you can't hide this. So I need everybody to share this. Now, I will tell you guys that we saw guys like Timothy Homseth, right? He started talking about the trafficking and reporting articles and different things that were already put out on a public record, and he ended up getting arrested. So what we see is that government officials could have possibly been using their power to get people arrested who came against what was reported to be trafficking. Now, am I saying that it's trafficking 100%? No, but the evidence definitely does look like there's 100% trafficking. And I'm not saying there's not trafficking that we know is happening, because the FBI came out themselves, or the Fed, and said that 88% of the children that were taken out of child sex trafficking arrests and captures and stuff like that, they actually came from CPS and foster care. Now, if you remember, we did an affidavit, Francesca, Robert Slavin, and I, we did an affidavit where we showed that CPS and their partners were trafficking by breaking the law. I gave notice on May 28th in front of Trump's trafficking council appointee, Lynn Johnson, in Arizona, in the room that is for the children and families inside of the governor's tower, right, downtown in Phoenix. So I went to that meeting. My buddy dropped me off there, and I showed the evidence of the law that said that CPS couldn't take kids, the federal law, right? Once I did that, 29 days later, the head guy bounced. He quit, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys that all of our hard work has been seen. Everything that we have done has made an effect, even if you didn't know. It has made an effect. Now, I'm not just going to tell you it made an effect. When I stop, I'm going to prove it to you. But let me finish giving you the preface work real quick so we understand what we're doing and we can see the effects and we know exactly where it came from. So May 28th, I showed the woman in front of a meeting which was on Facebook that haters tried to say that wasn't really in front of the trafficking council that wasn't really in front of the Fed, that was somewhere else, right? So I proved with the video that we were in front of the trafficking council, and I showed Lynn Johnson there, and I showed that we talked to the head of CPS, who withdrew or resigned within 29 days of that date. Also, within about 30 days of that date, the Fed came out with a report saying that they know that CPS is trafficking. Between May 28th and when we went to DC, I think that was like September 9th or October 9th, one of the two, I can't remember. What ended up happening is that we sent affidavits showing that CPS was trafficking from hundreds to thousands of parents to HHS, where they give the funding for CPS. So we put them on notice with HHS. I showed you guys the email where Lynn Johnson was also on the list of people who received affidavits. Now, Lynn Johnson on October 4th, after setting up a meeting, I believe it was on August 12th, that she said when the meeting was going to happen. On the 4th, right? On the 4th, what ends up happening is she comes out, and it was in the Epic Times, and says that the Trump administration is looking for whistleblowers because they believe that CPS and foster care is trafficking, right? So we put in all this work. People tell us, that ain't gonna do nothing. You know, that's some bull crap. That sovereign citizen stuff, don't use affidavits. Ain't nothing gonna happen good for you. Just deal with it and leave all this stuff alone, right? They're telling the parents not to try. Well, what up, Brad? So we have to fast forward now to what's going on. So CPS and Partners Trafficking is the title of the affidavit we put out. Well, what ends up happening is, and everybody please share this video. Let's get these numbers up, because this is a blessing for us as the people. Like, we are winning big, right? So what ended up happening is that on the 4th, right, Epic Times came out, and the Trump administration, Lynn Johnson, the same one who we spoke to on the 28th of May at the Trafficking Council meeting in Arizona, and put her on notice and let everybody see that they were trafficking, she actually came out and gave that notice in Epic Times. So we gave her so many affidavits that it is no way that you could say you don't know that they're trafficking. So she had to say something. She had to tell. Now, the thing is that she has to tell Trump. So Trump administration allows it to come out that they know they're trafficking. Now, why is this important? Because Trump has made executive orders to go after persons that are involved in trafficking. And some of those persons are actually government offices. He says it in his executive order. So it's not government office, but government officials or private actors who are trying to resemble government. He talks about the associations, the entities, the corporations, the trust, and all that. We also see that he blocks their funds and takes over their assets. Why is this important? So the other day, I came on and I told you guys where a company called Foster's Care Inc. had a website. I didn't report on it super hard because I wanted to wait for all the evidence. But what I did is I let you guys see that the feds took over their freaking site. Now, why is this important? This is important because for the first time, an administration has admitted that CPS and foster care is freaking trafficking. Nobody wanted to see it. Our state legislatures don't want to talk about this situation. They want to beat around the bush. They want to play. They want to talk about it a little bit, then stop talking about it. They want to, wet the whistle a little bit and then stop. right? Do no work. So what happens is that Trump's administration comes out and tells that he knows that CPS and foster care is trafficking. HHS or the Fed comes out with a report within like 30 days from the time that we put them on notice, right? They come out with a report saying that they know that 88% of the kids who have been found in trafficking came directly from CPS and foster care. This is what we have been begging these people to see. This is what we've been given affidavits for, because once we give you the liability and let you know that there's trafficking, you can no longer hide it, right? You can no longer hide it. Everybody share this. This is dumb important. I'm about to read y'all something that's going to freaking blow your back out. It's going to blow your mind, okay? So I got a few more seconds before I park, but when I read you this, you are going to realize that God is giving us exactly what we asked for, exactly what we need, and he is blowing the doors off of this secrecy and this false idea that CPS is here to help, that CPS is here for the people, right? We're starting to have a situation where the nation is turning around and Trump is convinced, y'all. See, they arrested one gentleman who was supposed to be giving reports to Trump. So there's a gentleman named Phil McConnell who was supposed to be giving stories on his page to show Trump about the trafficking that was happening. And the same person who got one guy arrested from a family court, Timothy Homeseth, who was reporting, this same person got the other gentleman, Phil McConnell, arrested when he was getting ready to start telling stories of how the kids were being trafficked. Now, I'm going to show y'all something, because Dave Jose brings the real freaking facts, right? So if you look here, it's going to be backwards, but if you look, it's from the Southern District of Florida, the United States Attorney's Office, right? Right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to read you guys a report, and you guys ain't going to believe what I'm about to show y'all. Well, no, y'all going to believe it because y'all been watching. But y'all need to share this with everybody. Let's stop for a second. Let's get this video shared. Let's get the numbers up so everybody can see it, guys. This is what we've been praying and begging for. And so when we see a situation like this where we are getting what we desire, we need to start telling people, we need to show it, we need to take joy in our victories, because God is truly blessing us, and we're having this system of trafficking get exposed in a way that we have never seen in our lifetime. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to share this with a few more people, because a lot of people are going to want to see it, and they're going to say, David, why didn't you show me this? Right? I want you guys to share it with more people so I can get this out to you. This is going to blow your brains out, right? Watch this. Okay, so I'm going to add 2 more people, and then I'm going to stop. There we go. Okay, so what I'm going to do is clear my camera. Okay, so you turn my camera around. What's up, Heather? Watch this. Okay, guys, it is on. Now watch this. The United States Attorney's Office, Southern District of Florida. I haven't read this yet all the way, so I'm going to break it down to you and give it to some of you guys. Department of Justice, U.S. Attorney's Office, Southern District of Florida, right? 3 South Florida residents indicted on federal sex trafficking charges. Now, this is where it's going to get deep, because this ain't just regular sex trafficking. This ain't adults, right? Watch this. Now, the trolls came on my page the other day. Let me clean off my camera so y'all can see better. The trolls came on my page, and they said, oh, David, I can't see anything about this company. Well, really, it don't matter what you see about the company. We moving. We're not waiting for people to gain the truth, right? Law enforcement sees what, guys? WWW Fosters Care, Inc., an internet forum believed to facilitate sex trafficking. Guys, come on. 3 Florida residents are arrested and connected to a website that's called Foster's Care Inc. And the Foster's Care Inc. is on some bull because they're really about sex trafficking. Now, guys, I don't know about you, but if this ain't blowing you away, then something must be, you must not be alive. Because we have prayed and asked God to show that CPS and foster care is trafficking. Some of y'all then got arrested because they wanted your kids to do something with your kids and they didn't have a reason to take them. But then they end up in foster care, and y'all done told me about y'all kids coming back with bruises on their inner thighs and with anal bleeding and all this stuff and vaginal bleeding. And you can't tell nobody. Nobody wants to know. But the feds, y'all, the United States Department of Justice is going after sex traffickers dealing with foster care. Exactly what we told was happening. This story broke on Tuesday, December 10th, 2019. Let's read some more. Ariana Fajardo Orhan, U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Florida, George L. Pirro, Special Agent in Charge, FBI's Miami Field Office, and Anthony Salisbury, Special Agent in Charge, Homeland Security Investigations, HSI, Miami Field Office, made the announcement. William D. Foster, 48. Now, we need to look up these names, guys, because I'm guaranteeing you, you're going to find that they're going to have a track record where they're going to be connected to a whole bunch of government officials, a whole bunch of people in foster care. I'm telling y'all. Watch this. William D. Foster, 48, of Delray Beach, Ashley Holloway, 36, of Fort Lauderdale, and Hannah Chan, 30, of Delray Beach, were charged in an indictment unsealed yesterday, right? Case number 19 CR 20804. Foster was charged with 1 count of conspiracy to commit sex trafficking, guys. Watch this. 1 count of sex trafficking of a minor, and by force, fraud, or coercion, and 2 counts of sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion. Foster, Holloway, and Chan were charged with 1 count of sex trafficking by fraud and coercion. Foster and Chan were charged with 1 count of transportation of an individual for prostitution. So, literally, guys, they are trying to take kids and transport them for the purpose of being sex trafficked. Their website is a foster care website. FostersCareInc.com, running a foster care website, guys, for the use of raping kids and trapping. I don't want to say the trafficking word because I know they'll kill my video, right? But Foster was previously arrested on a criminal complaint following the execution of 3 residential search warrants in Delray Beach, Florida. Now, we need to look into that and find out what those addresses were, because he's probably owning homes or renting out homes that hold children, I would believe. So we need to look into that, because a lot of times these guys have multiple houses where they have multiple kids in, and they make a ton of money off of them. Now, what we need to do also is find out if any politicians or government officials are on the deeds for those houses or are actually renting out those houses, okay? Because we're going to start busting this junk. We're going to blow the back out of this junk, and you're going to find that government officials are connected to these trafficking cases. Watch. God has given us the victory. He is showing us what these people are doing. People have been broken down and sad for a long time. We have asked God to deliver us and show us powerful things. We told y'all that Trump knew about the fact that CPS was trafficking. Now, the United States Attorney's Office is showing y'all that they know. All right, we're going to keep reading. According to the court record, including allegations contained in a criminal complaint, Foster was the leader of sex trafficking organization. That's a bullcrap lie. A victim was allegedly recruited into Foster's sex trafficking organization in around August 2007 as a minor, and was commercially sex trafficked by Foster both as a minor and then as an adult. from approximately November 2007 through May 2010. A second victim was allegedly recruited into Foster organization and was commercially sex trafficked by Foster from approximately May 2004 through August 2011. It is alleged that these victims were moved across state lines for the purpose of prostitution. All right, so that's the commercial part of the crime, right? Going across state lines. When they were minors, it is alleged Foster arranged for the victims to obtain false identification. And in addition, Foster is alleged to have sex with the victims on multiple occasions beginning when they were minors. Now, one thing that I want to look at, you see how long it's been that they've been doing this bullcrap and it's just now coming out. But the fact that they take down their website shows that they're still doing it. Watch this. During the course of the investigation, law enforcement identified a website, www.fosterscareinc.com, on November 21st, 2019. Law enforcement seized the website, fosterscareinc.com, based on a finding by a U.S. magistrate judge that there was probable cause to believe the website was used or intended to be used to commit or facilitate the commission of sex trafficking of children or by force, fraud, or coercion. Now, guys, one thing that we got to realize is that if they just got a freaking warrant just now, the activity is still freaking going. It was still happening, right? It has been used for sex trafficking, but think about this. When you go before this magistrate judge, you have to come with evidence to tell them that something has made you believe they're using this site for trafficking. So the government officials know that they have been trafficking. They know that this is happening. They know that there's a connection to foster care entity, at least one now, which they know is more than one. Come on. But a foster care entity and traffickers. Now, remember, guys, that Timothy Homeseth and guys like that talked about a lot of things going on in Broward County, Florida. So what might be happening is they might be prepping us to get ready for the big scandals where there's the children being sent to the Ukraine. There's tons of people having sex with kids, right? They might be opening the door for us to see that this is happening slowly. So they show an arrest of 3, then they show an arrest of 50, then 100, then 300, right? Because based on what Timothy Homeseth says, this actually lends even more credibility to what he told us. Because in Florida, if they're getting kids to sex traffic and they have a website for fosters, right? And these people are getting children, we need to realize that these people know exactly how to work the system. And this isn't the first time that we heard of the foster care system working this way. On November 19, 2019, Foster was ordered detained pending trial based on a finding by U.S. Magistrate Judge Bruce E. Reinhardt in West Palm Beach, Florida, that the defendant poses a danger to the community. Right? Now, that's pretty deep, right? Holloway and Chan are scheduled to have their pre-trial detention hearings on December 13, 2019, and to be arraigned on December 19, 2019. An indictment and criminal complaint are charging documents containing allegations. All defendants are presumed innocent until proven guilty by a reasonable doubt in a court of law, of course. U.S. Attorney Fajardo Orshan commended the investigative efforts of the FBI, HSI Miami field office, HSI Detroit field office, right? So now we're going to start seeing connections of different areas because they have been trying to traffic them across states. So Detroit as well, Florida Office of Financial Regulation, Delray Beach Police Department, Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office, Hollywood Police Department, Miami-Dade Police Department, and Sebastian Police Department. This case is being prosecuted by attorney J. Mackenzie Duane and Jessica Kahn Obanoff. U.S. Attorney Peter A. Lazerna is handling the asset forfeiture aspect of the case. So they're probably going to be taking a lot of stuff from them, right? Asset forfeiture. That's what Trump put in the law to be able to take stuff from persons, entities, guys. Persons, right? That's right, Brad. Thank you so much, brother. persons involved in trafficking, right? So now they got a number. If you want to talk about human trafficking, there's a hotline. We need to start using that, and we need to start turning in affidavits of the crimes that are happening to our children that we see that are not being reported in normal circumstances. Now, I can tell you guys why they're not reporting a lot of the situations. They're not reporting a lot of them because CPS is putting themselves together as membership associations along with guardian ad litems, attorneys, and other entities, just like the National Council of Juvenile and Family Court judges. They believe when they come together in their private membership associations that they don't have to report things as mandated reporters. And it's funny because a woman came to one of the Judiciary Committee meetings yesterday. Hey, it's all God, Tanya. Let me tell y'all what happened. It was so fire. I'm going to try to get the video because one young lady took a video there, so I'm going to see if I can get it. But I told them, well, the woman said, listen, I want to ask you guys two questions first. Is the CPS workers and the judges mandated reporters on family court cases or CPS cases? And the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court was like, he answered one question, then he was like, well, he kind of said like it kind of depends, right? And I knew exactly what the freak he was doing. See, the CPS courts and the family court is a jurisdiction that is outside of the United States of America. It is not a state court. It is a court that is contracted and a membership association of people coming together to hear cases. Now, when they do that, they're in the private and they're not in their government capacity, so there is no mandated reporting. And that's what he didn't want to say because he's sitting there and he don't want to spill the beans. So he's like, well, just say what you have to say and we can maybe answer some questions later, right? So it was funny as heck when he paused. So then I got up and I said, well, you know, I'll just go ahead and tell everybody why they don't have to be mandated reporters and why all these parents over here think they're actually in a court of record and they're not. And I said it in front of the all the judges in the room in the Judiciary Committee. I said, first of all, we know, I said, I like to come here and speak to the judges because the judges really know the truth. And I said, so we understand and know that the judges are in a capacity where they're working in a legislative tribunal and it's not a situation where we're in a court of record. I said, the Constitution says that the Supreme Court, the Appeals Court, and the Superior Court must all be courts of record. And I said, for any of you judges that have been here for a while, you know that a court of record has multiple characteristics that has seemed to change a little bit over time. But one of them is the magistrate must be independent of the tribunal. And we know that CPS court is not that. I said, so all these parents over here talking about losing their kids, forced adoptions, they're not getting due process, their kids are getting forced into some bull. I said, y'all know, we all know, the judges, y'all know that CPS is working in a court that is not of record and is just administrative hearings. I said it's a legislative tribunal, and in the legislative tribunal, the judges cannot be granted judicial power by the legislature. We know that. So every single case y'all doing, y'all know that there's no adoption in the common law. You can just look in Black's Law 5. There's no adoption in the common law. Therefore, you guys are not using the law of the land to get these kids sent out. You guys are using legislative tribunals and you're not telling the parents. Somebody got to come out and start telling the truth. Y'all gonna hear me say this, right? So this is what I told them. Now, a couple of people after who were judges seemed like they wanted to talk to me, you know, shook my hand. Oh, thank you for your comments. So I said, what did you think about what I said? They're just like, thank you so much for your comments. And I told them, I said, I know y'all hands are tied because in these legislative tribunals, I said, this is how I know that you guys aren't working in judicial courts. I said in the civil and criminal court under Article 3, I said it's very easy to see that all it does is give you judicial power to hear cases and you don't have a prescription of all the things that you can do in those courts. But in this CPS court in ARS 8, we got to go through every single line of the statutes of what you can do, how you can do it, what got to be said, what CPS got the power to do, what the court can tell the people in the crowd. So we know that it is a contract court based off of statute. And you can see them. Some people were watching them as I was talking, right? They were like this. Right? There's a ton of judges in the room and they're shaking their head. Yep. And they know. They knew I was telling the truth. They knew it, right? And so it was crazy when you see their reaction. But see, guys, people have been able to play a game because for the longest, they could just act like parents were crazy because nobody was bringing real facts. That's the one thing that I want to praise you guys for and thank you guys for, because you guys have put in a lot of hard work, listen to some long dang videos, right? Listen to some long videos where we break down the law and show the truth, and y'all have been spitting the truth. Now, one thing that the person from one of Trump's councils, the teams that actually set up evidence to go kick down doors and the people who kick down doors, he told me, he said, David, he said, Trump and them back months ago, right? Trump and his wife and his family are starting to see the truth about what you guys were saying about CPS and foster care. I said, well, do you think he's going to go ahead and knock it down? What's going to happen? He said, David, I'm going to tell you, in November, we're going to have some big news before the end of the year is going to change. But I can tell that when we are to have something big happen and it got voiced, they like arrest Phil McConnell, you know, go after Timothy Homestead some more. They would try to impeach Trump to slow him down, right? So there are scheduled times for certain things to happen, and it's happening. But then they hit Trump with a whole bunch of stuff to try to slow him down, right? And so for me, when I find out stuff like the guy who talked directly to Trump, I think on July 5th, he spoke directly to Melania in the Rose Garden. And he told me, he's like, he said this to me, and I tell y'all because, you know, it made me happy because I want to win for all the families. I want us to kick some butt and for kids to be returned. And I know it's going to happen. But he said, I said, so what do you think? You know, he's like, well, David, they're starting to understand and see clearly you need more families to stand up. And that's why we start pounding those affidavits so freaking hard to Congress and to everybody, right? And to Trump and Barr. Well, he told me, he's like, Dave, yeah, they're seeing what's happening. They're watching. And you got to get more mothers and fathers to stand up. You guys are winning. And they're starting to see exactly what the case is. He told me that, right? And when he told me that, I'm like, man, it hit me hard, right? It hit me hard because I want the mothers and fathers to win. Thank you so much, Sarah. And I've been spending time trying to teach the law so that the people learn, so the people will stand up and the people will not fear and talk and know that God is on their side and the law is on their side. So we put out stuff, y'all, showing that CPS and foster care was trafficking. Donald Trump saw it. His team saw it, right? Yeah, he's not going to be slowed down altogether, but what they do is try to occupy his time with crazy impeachment talk and all types of stuff so he stops the trafficking. Why? Let's look at what we found out in the last week. Pelosi, right, has a company that rents out space to the DCS type entity in one area of California for $44,000 a year. So she has a direct contact through her company to CPS. Her son used CPS against his ex to steal her kids. And he told them, oh, I'm going to get CPS against you and they're going to take your kids. And they did, right? So now we realize Pelosi has a building that she rents out for $44,000 a year to CPS. They can afford to pay her because they take kids, okay? Now, Pelosi had to put that on her documentation to show business dealings she had. So Patrick Howley reported this, the awesome reporter, right? So you got to look at what God is showing us. So a woman who's connected to CPS, through legislation, because she's a legislator too, she's a legislative body member, she owns property that deals with contracts with CPS entities. And then her son uses a CPS entity to take somebody's kid who told on him for his bad business dealings. Now, we also find that Backpage, this was reported too, Backpage had a person who gave Pelosi $10,000 cash. Backpage is the ones who got shut down for allowing trafficking on their page. Now, trafficking was happening on Backpage. Somebody from Backpage gave Pelosi 10 grand. Pelosi and them act silly about the fact that she was given 10 grand and didn't give it back. But the people who was connected to that is connected to trafficking. She's connected to CPS. So you got to ask the question, why would somebody from Backpage give Pelosi 10 grand? That's questions we need to ask. What benefit are you getting that you would give Pelosi 10 grand? I own websites. I would never give Pelosi 10 grand, right? It's kind of like the National Council of Juvenile Family Court Judges have events where they'll have sponsorships for like 20 to 25,000 from the American Trucker Association. The American Truckers Association, I can see if they give $25,000 to the Indy 500, where they're going to be taking tires and they're going to be hired as the ones to take the tires to the events. But if you're dealing with kids, why would truckers give that much money to be at your event, to be a sponsor? What is the return? What do you get back? So we see like Hunter Biden working in scams, right? Where he is making money from different nations and he's using his father's political power to do this. Now, we're starting to see more and more and more. See, when I tell you guys that Maxine Waters said Trump is trying to get us killed and talked about the KKK, I don't think it's really the KKK she's worried about. I think because she's a legislative member from Cali, and we heard the story about the 2,100 kids that were saved, right? When we heard that, and Trump went and, well, they say that Trump ordered the Marines to go in and save those kids. Now, I could understand that there's going to be operations that we're not going to hear about. I mean, think about it. This thing we're reading about talks about all the way back to 2011 and 2007. So sometimes people know about the trafficking operations, but they're not going to tell, right? So remember, this is the same FBI that's lying on Trump, same FBI that changed emails, right? Same FBI that hid or suppressed exculpatory evidence. Why is this important? I want to connect the dots for y'all. This is important because when we went personally to go show the FBI that CPS in Arizona was trafficking by the laws and how we had documentation to show they were doing it, the first lady who saw it understood and knew that they were trafficking. She started crying in the meeting with me. She went to the next person and was still apologizing and crying for not stepping up and doing something or her attitude with us, right? So after that, they end up stonewalling. As it went up, they stonewalled the investigation. And then they went and told DCS in Arizona that we knew that they had 78 or 70 something different records of Dun and Bradstreet numbers, right? So when they're trying to hide their lawsuits, they got 70 something numbers to use, and they're spreading their stuff out so people can't find where they got in trouble. And then when they show one number, I believe it was connected to the Attorney General's office or something. Like they were using ghost and dummy numbers for Dun and Bradstreet to block what they were doing, right? So the FBI hid the information in Arizona. They suppressed the case. Now, why is this thing in Florida happening? I believe this thing in Florida is happening, number one, because the FBI knows they're in trouble from lying all the time and hiding evidence. They don't even have a charter, y'all. They know that they've been doing wrong, and now they're under new management. Trump has been getting on their head for being liars. The report, the IJ report, just came out and proved they're freaking liars. They hide evidence. They're really working against people who are trying to fight for America's freedom. Trump is arresting pedophiles. They're trying to get rid of him. They're talking bad about him. They got agents going against him. I mean, this is like a smear campaign by the FBI. So why are they using the people's money to do all these evil things? And why are they in existence when they don't have a charter anyway? But the FBI is up under new management. So they're now doing what Trump would ask them to do. They're showing that there's criminals that are trafficking kids that deal with foster care. So what can I see in this situation? I can see that there is a line of good and evil like there is in the White House. There's evil people in the White House, and there's people who are trying to do right in the White House. In the FBI, there's filthy, dirty, evil people, and there's good people. And what's happening is now we can see that some people are joining along with Trump to go after traffickers. So the report came out for the first time in history that foster care was connected to trafficking, and 88% of the kids that are in trafficking come from CPS and foster care. So guys, we are having the floodgates bursted open where we can show the truth now. They want the evidence. They want your affidavits. Trump and Barr want to get these people. And yes, that is why I believe that the Dems are trying to get rid of him, because Trump didn't make his money off of trafficking. But think about this. I'm going to expose something to y'all to get y'all to think. A lot of y'all dealing with child support cases, and y'all going crazy because they're taking all your money. They're really trafficking your kids. They won't let you see them so they can make these orders. Let me help y'all see something. Okay? Let me help you see something. There's what's called matching funding in child support, right? So if they can get a parent to pay $3,000 for their kid, they can go into Social Security and take another $3,000 out. Now, what the state has allowed to come out with is 66, well, they have what's called these matching funds, right? So whatever they could take from the mother or father, they also will take from Social Security. Now, they talk about how the states get 66% of that money. And see, that's Moon Aside just hit it. This is what we've been conditioned to understand. The states get 66%. That's their satanic, devilish cut for hitting people with child support orders that is put there to benefit the state, because no individual kid has the right to child support. It's not for them. It is to put money in the general fund and give money to some attorneys and some judges that's working in the private to make money. But something is missing. People keep asking, how is it that the legislature can come out? How is it that the Fed can come out and these people can make billions of dollars after making a very small amount of money for their yearly wages? Look up how much the legislature, average legislature member makes in Congress, right? Look at how much they make. Now, not the average, just what they make. Now, take that into consideration, that they make a certain amount of money and then they leave and they're worth billions at times, hundreds of millions. And then people say this, oh, well, maybe they did good investments. Shut the freak up. Ain't no investments in America that good. Shut the freak up. Let me tell you what the freak is happening. Everybody talks about the 66% that the state gets in this funds matching. But if there's funds matching 3,000 for 3,000, 100% of 3,000 is 3,000. 66% of that is less than 3,000. So what happened to the other 34%? 34% is missing. It's being held back by the Fed. So if the legislature is going to allow them to do this, is there not any way for them to get a cut of the 34%? 34% is missing. Arizona CPS, when they take kids, they get matching funds too. And in a meeting, a guy says CPS in Arizona is a $1 billion agency. So if one state is a $1 billion a year agency and they're getting all this money, and that's not including child support, I don't think. But if they're getting all this money that they can say they're a $1 billion agency, how much money is the Fed keeping? How much money is the Fed keeping? So just with child support, 34% is kept back with the Fed, 66% is given to the state. The state workers, the CPS, the attorneys and the lawyers are breaking up part of that 66%, and then they donate a chunk of it to the general fund. So the state's general funds are being made wealthy or able to cover all their bills by trafficking of kids. See, this is what people are not going to tell us. This is what they don't want you to know. I understand. This is the reason I had to suffer through losing my little guys. Because God is like, hey, Dave, you in business. You understand trust and associations. Go find out what they're doing. Go look it up. And he knows I'll spend days not sleeping, right? Finding out what's happening. So they're making money in the public, but they're also making money in the private. And we know that the Fed came out and said 88% of the kids who they found in trafficking came directly from CPS and foster care. I